The sky was quiet that day, so calm it almost felt unnatural. It wasn't the kind of quiet you'd notice right away. It didn't scream for attention like thunder or heavy rain would. Instead, it lingered softly, wrapping the world in a stillness that made people glance up and wonder if something was off. The sun hung lazily in its place, casting golden rays over cities and fields, while birds soared above without a care. Everything seemed normal, too normal. But deep in space, far beyond the moon's shadow, something extraordinary was happening. A fleet of alien ships, massive, sleek, and bristling with weapons, hovered silently in orbit around Earth. These weren't your typical UFOs from conspiracy theories or movies. These vessels were real, advanced, and terrifyingly powerful. Their surfaces shimmered faintly under the light of distant stars, reflecting an eerie glow that no human eye could see from the ground below. To anyone who might have stumbled upon them, they looked more like living machines than mere spacecraft, their sharp edges pulsing faintly as if alive. Inside one of the larger ships, Commander Zixar paced back and forth across the bridge. His six-limbed body moved gracefully despite his growing impatience. Around him, other members of his species worked at various consoles, their insect-like eyes flickering between screens filled with data about the planet below. They called themselves the Vorthakians, a race known throughout the galaxy for their ruthless efficiency in conquering weaker civilizations. For centuries, they had traveled from system to system, stripping planets of their resources and leaving behind barren wastelands. This mission was supposed to be no different. Earth, however, intrigued them. From what their scans revealed, this blue-green world teemed with life. Its atmosphere supported billions of creatures, most of whom were primitive by galactic standards. Yet there was something unusual about this species called humans. Unlike other beings they had encountered, humans appeared chaotic yet resourceful, violent yet creative. Some even dared to explore the cosmos, sending tiny probes into the void despite their limited technology. It baffled Zixar. How could such a fragile species survive long enough to achieve anything meaningful? They are insignificant, Zixar muttered to himself, stopping near the main viewport. Below him, Earth spun slowly, its continents outlined by swirling clouds. He tapped one of his claws against the glass, thinking aloud. Their weapons are primitive, their defenses laughable. We could destroy them within hours. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Krilna, approached cautiously. Her slender frame twitched slightly as she addressed him. Commander, our sensors indicate strange energy readings emanating from certain areas on the planet. Should we investigate further before proceeding? Zixar snorted dismissively. Energy readings? Likely nothing more than natural phenomena. Humans are not capable of producing anything worth noting. Prepare the scout ships, we will send them down to assess the surface. If resistance arises, eliminate it immediately. Krilna hesitated but nodded obediently. She turned to relay the orders, her mandibles clicking softly as she communicated with the rest of the crew. Within moments, 3 smaller scout ships detached from the mothership, descending toward Earth like dark specks against the bright expanse of space. Back on the planet below, life continued as usual. People went about their daily routines, oblivious to the danger lurking just beyond their skies. In bustling cities, commuters rushed to work, students filed into classrooms, and shoppers browsed through aisles of grocery stores. Out in rural areas, farmers tended to crops and children played outside, laughing loudly as they chased each other through fields. Even astronomers peering through telescopes saw nothing amiss. The alien fleet remained cloaked, hidden from view until the moment it chose to reveal itself. As the first scout ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the air crackled with tension. The vessel slowed slightly, its engines humming softly as it adjusted course. Through its reinforced windows, the pilot scanned the landscape below. Towering skyscrapers stretched toward the heavens, surrounded by sprawling suburbs and highways crisscrossing like veins. Cars zipped along roads, and airplanes traced white streaks across the sky. To the Vorthakian observer, it all seemed so mundane, so vulnerable. And then suddenly, something unexpected happened. Without warning, the skies above Earth began to change. Clouds parted unnaturally fast as though pushed aside by an invisible hand. Bright flashes of light erupted high in the atmosphere, illuminating the horizon in shades of blue and silver. Gasps echoed across the globe as people stopped whatever they were doing to stare upward. Phones were whipped out, cameras clicked, and social media feeds flooded with videos of the bizarre phenomenon. What emerged next left everyone speechless. From behind the moon, 3 colossal structures glided into view. They were unlike anything humanity had ever seen or imagined. Triangular in shape, each platform spanned several kilometers across, their metallic surfaces gleaming ominously in the sunlight. Blue energy rippled along their edges, casting an otherworldly glow that made them look both beautiful and terrifying. Slowly, deliberately, the platforms positioned themselves above key locations on Earth, forming a protective barrier between the planet and the alien intruders. The reaction was instantaneous. Panic swept through cities as people realized they were witnessing something far beyond their understanding. Some dropped to their knees in prayer, believing the end of the world had arrived. Others ran for cover, seeking refuge in basements and underground shelters. News anchors struggled to make sense of the chaos, their voices trembling as they reported live updates. "Unidentified objects have appeared in Earth's orbit," one shouted. "We repeat, unidentified objects." Meanwhile, aboard the alien scout ship, confusion reigned supreme. The pilot frantically transmitted a message back to the mothership. "Commander, there are things here. Massive structures blocking our path." Zixar's antennae twitched irritably. "Things?" he snapped. "Explain yourself." Before the pilot could respond, the largest platform unleashed a dazzling display of power. A beam of concentrated energy shot forth, striking the scout ship dead center. For a brief moment, the vessel shuddered violently, its systems failing as the alien crew scrambled to regain control. Then, with a deafening explosion, it disintegrated into nothingness. Silence fell over the Vorthakian command center as the remaining scout ships retreated hastily. Zixar stared at the screen, his mind racing. What had just happened? How could such primitive beings possess technology capable of destroying one of their finest ships? For the first time in his long career, Commander Zixar felt a pang of fear. This mission, which had seemed so straightforward, had taken a turn he hadn't anticipated. Earth, it seemed, was not as defenseless as he had assumed. And the humans. They watched in stunned silence as the mysterious platforms hovered protectively above their cities. No one knew where they had come from or who controlled them, but one thing was clear. Someone somewhere had been preparing for this moment. Little did anyone realize the battle had only just begun. While the world above ground grappled with shock and awe at the appearance of the colossal platforms, deep beneath the Nevada desert, a secret operation unfolded in silence. Hidden miles below layers of rock and sand lay an underground facility, known only to a select few. It was called Project Ascension, a classified military initiative decades in the making, designed to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats. For years it had remained dormant, a theoretical safeguard against the unknown. But now, as alien ships loomed over the planet, its true purpose came to light. At the heart of Project Ascension stood Dr. Elena Carter, a brilliant astrophysicist whose life's work had been dedicated to defending humanity from cosmic dangers. She was a woman of sharp intellect and unyielding determination, her dark hair tied back in a no-nonsense ponytail that matched her focused demeanor. Her eyes, framed by thin-rimmed glasses, scanned the holographic displays hovering above the command center table. Each display showed real-time data about the alien fleet, their positions marked with ominous red dots. "They're arrogant," she muttered under her breath, leaning closer to examine the readings. "They think we're primitive." Beside her, General Marcus Hayes nodded grimly. A tall man with graying temples and a stern expression, he was the military counterpart to Dr. Carter's scientific expertise. Together, they formed the backbone of Project Ascension. Hayes crossed his arms and let out a heavy sigh. We knew this day might come, but I never imagined it would happen so soon. Dr. Carter didn't respond immediately. Instead, she tapped. A sequence on the console zooming in on one of the alien ships. Its sleek design and advanced weaponry were unlike anything humans had ever created. Yet, despite its intimidating appearance, there was something predictable about it. Something mechanical, almost robotic. The aliens hadn't anticipated resistance because they assumed Earth lacked the capability to fight back. And for centuries, they'd been right. But not anymore. "General," Dr. Carter said finally, straightening up. "We need to activate the Star Destroyers." Hayes stiffened. The Star Destroyers weren't ships per se, at least not in the traditional sense. They were massive orbital defense platforms equipped with energy shields and plasma cannons, powerful enough to obliterate entire fleets. Built during the height of the Cold War as a deterrent against nuclear annihilation, they had never been used. Activating them meant revealing humanity's technological secrets to the universe and potentially inviting retaliation from other alien civilizations. "Are you sure?" Hayes asked cautiously. His voice carried the weight of responsibility, knowing the decision could alter the course of human history forever. Carter turned to face him, her expression resolute. "Do we have a choice? If we don't act now, billions will die." Hayes hesitated for a moment longer before nodding sharply. "All right, let's do it." The activation process was anything but simple. Deep within the facility, engineers worked tirelessly to bring the Star Destroyers online. Massive generators hummed to life, powering the platform's core systems. Energy coursed through conduits embedded in the walls, lighting up the facility like a web of glowing veins. On the surface, antennas hidden beneath fake mountain ranges transmitted signals to the platforms orbiting Earth. In the control room, Dr. Carter monitored every step of the process. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, inputting commands with precision. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she didn't stop, not even for a second. This was the culmination of years of research, planning, and sacrifice. Everything hinged on getting it right. Meanwhile, outside the facility, the effects of the activation began to manifest. High in the atmosphere, streaks of blue light shot upward, illuminating the night sky. People across the globe watched in amazement as the lights converged near the moon, revealing the three triangular behemoths. Their sudden appearance sent waves of panic rippling through the population, but also a glimmer of hope. Someone, or something, was protecting them. Back inside the facility, tension mounted. The final stage of activation required manual intervention. Dr. Carter suited up in protective gear and descended into the reactor chamber, where the platform's central power core pulsed with raw energy. The air crackled around her, static electricity raising the hairs on her arms. She approached the console at the center of the chamber, her hands steady despite the overwhelming forces surrounding her. "This is it," she whispered to herself, pressing the final button. Above ground, the Star Destroyers roared to life. Blue energy surged along their edges, forming impenetrable shields around each platform. Plasma cannons charged, emitting low rumbles that echoed through space. The aliens, caught off guard by the sudden display of power, scrambled to regroup. On board the Vorthakian mothership, Commander Zixar stared at the screens in disbelief. His antennae twitched furiously as he processed the information flooding in from his scouts. The humans, primitive, insignificant humans, had somehow managed to deploy these monstrous structures. How was it possible? He clenched his claws tightly, his mind racing to formulate a response. "Commander!" Lieutenant Krillna exclaimed, pointing at the main viewport. One of the Star Destroyers had locked onto a group of scout ships lingering too close to Earth's atmosphere. Without warning, a beam of concentrated plasma shot forth, striking the lead ship with devastating accuracy. The vessel exploded in a fiery burst, sending debris spiraling into the void. Zixar barked orders, his voice laced with urgency. "Retreat! All units fall back!" The remaining scout ships fled hastily, their engines blazing as they attempted to escape the wrath of the Star Destroyers. But the damage had already been done. Dozens of Vorthakian vessels lay in ruins, reduced to smoldering wreckage drifting aimlessly through space. Back at the underground facility, cheers erupted as the team watched the battle unfold. Engineers hugged one another, tears streaming down their faces as relief washed over them. For years they had worked in secret, pouring their hearts and souls into Project Ascension. Now, their efforts had paid off. Humanity had proven itself capable of standing up to even the most formidable foes, but Dr. Carter remained focused. She stood quietly in the corner of the control room, her arms crossed as she gazed at the holographic displays. Victory felt hollow when she considered the bigger picture. The aliens wouldn't give up easily. This skirmish was merely the opening salvo in a much larger conflict. "You did good, Doc," General Hayes said, clapping her on the shoulder. His tone was warm, filled with admiration for the woman who had led them through the crisis. Carter nodded absently. "Thanks, General, but we can't celebrate yet. They'll send reinforcements." Hayes frowned, his expression turning serious once more. "You're right. We need to prepare for whatever comes next." As the initial wave of excitement settled, the reality of the situation began to sink in. The aliens had underestimated Earth, but they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Reinforcements were inevitable, and humanity needed to be ready. Dr. Carter returned to her workstation, poring over schematics and calculations. There were still vulnerabilities in the Star Destroyer's design, weak points that could be exploited if the enemy figured out how to counteract their defenses. She scribbled notes furiously, brainstorming ways to strengthen the platforms while simultaneously developing new strategies for future engagements. Elsewhere in the facility, engineers worked around the clock to upgrade the Star Destroyer's weapon systems. Plasma cannons were recalibrated for greater precision, while energy shields received additional layers of reinforcement. Every second counted. They couldn't afford to waste time. Outside, the world continued to react to the unfolding events. Social media buzzed with theories and speculation, while news outlets broadcast live footage of the battle. Some hailed the Star Destroyers as saviors, while others feared the implications of exposing Earth's secrets to the galaxy. Governments convened emergency meetings, scrambling to address the crisis. For Dr. Carter, though, none of that mattered. Her focus was singular, ensuring humanity's survival. As she sat in the dimly lit control room, surrounded by blinking monitors and humming machinery, she allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with challenges and sacrifices. But for the first time in history, Earth stood united, not as victims, but as warriors ready to defend their home. And the aliens? They whispered tales of caution among the stars. Beware the humans. Their skies may part, but their resolve never falters. Little did anyone realize the battle had only just begun. The dust had barely settled, metaphorically speaking, when the full weight of what had happened began to sink in. The skies above Earth were no longer empty expanses but battlegrounds where humanity had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with an alien threat. For the first time, people around the globe realized they weren't alone in the universe, and that their survival depended on unity. In the days following the initial clash, news outlets worked overtime to piece together the story. Footage of the Star Destroyers unleashing plasma beams against the alien fleet dominated every screen. From living rooms to smartphones, social media exploded with hashtags like Young Earth United and Star Destroyer Heroes, while conspiracy theorists scrambled to connect dots between government cover-ups and ancient prophecies. Some claimed the platforms had been built by secret societies. Others insisted they were remnants of a long-lost advanced civilization. Few suspected the truth, that these structures were the result of decades of human ingenuity, hidden away until the moment they were needed most. But as awe-inspiring as the victory was, it came with a sobering reality. The aliens hadn't disappeared. They had retreated, licking their wounds and regrouping. And when they returned, they would come stronger, angrier, and better prepared. Humanity's brief triumph was just that, a fleeting moment before the storm. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Elena Carter stood in the control room of Project Ascension, staring at the holographic displays showing the positions of the EU. remaining alien ships. They lingered near the edge of the solar system, their movements cautious yet deliberate. It was clear they weren't giving up. They were planning something. Carter sighed heavily, rubbing her temples. Sleep had become a luxury she could no longer afford. Between overseeing upgrades to the Star Destroyers and coordinating with global leaders, she felt stretched thin. Still, there was no room for error. Every decision she made could mean the difference between life and death for billions of people. "Dr. Carter," General Hayes called out, stepping into the room. His face was grim, his usual calm demeanor replaced by visible tension. "We've received reports of unusual activity near Saturn." Carter turned sharply. "What kind of activity?" Hayes handed her a tablet displaying data from deep space telescopes. The readings showed fluctuations in energy signatures consistent with wormhole technology, or at least what humans understood of it. "It looks like they're opening a gateway," he explained. "They might be calling for reinforcements." A chill ran down Carter's spine. Reinforcements meant more ships, more weapons, and potentially even ground troops. If the Vorthakians brought enough firepower to overwhelm the Star Destroyers, Earth wouldn't stand a chance. "We need to act fast," she said firmly. "If we wait for them to attack again, we'll lose the advantage." Hayes nodded. "Agreed. But what do you propose?" Carter walked over to the main console and pulled up a map of the solar system. Her finger traced a line from Earth to Saturn. "We send a strike team to disrupt whatever they're doing. Maybe sabotage their wormhole generator, or gather intel on their next move." The general raised an eyebrow. "You want to launch a preemptive strike? Against an enemy we barely understand?" "It's risky, I know," Carter admitted. "But sitting here waiting for them to hit us again is riskier. We have the element of surprise right now. We can't waste it." After a moment of consideration, Hayes relented. "All right, let's make it happen." Meanwhile, above ground, the world struggled to process the events unfolding beyond its atmosphere. Governments convened emergency sessions debating how best to respond to the alien threat. Military forces went on high alert, preparing for potential invasions. Scientists collaborated across borders, pooling resources to develop new technologies inspired by the Star Destroyer's design. Even ordinary citizens found ways to contribute, organizing fundraisers and volunteering for emergency response teams. Among those affected was Ethan Marks, a teenager whose life had changed forever thanks to the kindness of a stranger. Just weeks earlier, he'd been bullied mercilessly outside his school, until Destiny Johnson stepped in to defend him. That act of courage had sparked a chain reaction, leading Destiny to gain recognition as a leader and advocate for underprivileged youth. Now, as the world faced an existential crisis, both Ethan and Destiny found themselves drawn into the broader effort to protect humanity. Ethan, who had always been fascinated by space, joined a local astronomy club that partnered with NASA to monitor alien activity. From his wheelchair, he spent hours analyzing satellite images and sharing insights with fellow members. Though his contributions seemed small compared to the grand scale of the conflict, they reminded him that even someone like him could make a difference. Destiny, on the other hand, used her growing influence to rally communities. She traveled across the country, speaking at schools and community centers about resilience and teamwork. Her message resonated deeply with audiences, many of whom saw her as a symbol of hope in uncertain times. When asked about her role in inspiring others, she simply smiled and said, "Sometimes all it takes is one person to step up and show the way." Back at Project Ascension, preparations for the preemptive strike moved swiftly. A small fleet of prototype spacecraft dubbed Sentinels was assembled using technology reverse-engineered from the Star Destroyers. Sleek and agile, these ships were designed for stealth missions rather than direct combat. Piloted by some of the best astronauts and test pilots in the world, the Sentinels represented humanity's best shot at taking the fight to the aliens. Leading the mission was Commander Rachel Nguyen, a decorated astronaut known for her quick thinking and unshakable resolve. Standing in front of her crew during the briefing, she exuded confidence despite the monumental task ahead. "This isn't just about stopping the aliens," she told them. "It's about proving to ourselves, and to them, that we won't back down. No matter what happens, we hold the line. As the Sentinels launched into space, streaming video feeds broadcast their journey to command centers around the globe. People watched with bated breath, praying for success. Among the viewers was Dr. Carter, who sat in the control room gripping the edges of her chair. She knew the odds were stacked against the crew, but failure wasn't an option. Hours later, the Sentinels reached Saturn. What they found there defied imagination. The Vorthakians had constructed a massive device orbiting the planet's rings, pulsating with strange energy. It looked like nothing anyone had ever seen, a swirling vortex of light and shadow, connected to coordinates far beyond the reaches of human exploration. Nearby, dozens of alien ships patrolled the area, guarding the anomaly with lethal precision. Commander Nguyen wasted no time. Team Bravo, flank left. Team Delta, provide cover fire. Alpha Squad, follow me. The Sentinels split into formation, darting between asteroids and debris fields to avoid detection. Their engines emitted minimal noise, blending seamlessly with the natural sounds of space. As they approached the device, Nguyen transmitted coordinates back to Earth, hoping scientists could decipher its purpose. Suddenly, alarms blared inside the Sentinels' cockpits. The Vorthakians had spotted them. Here we go, Nguyen muttered, gripping the controls tightly. Within seconds, plasma bolts streaked past the Sentinels, forcing them into evasive maneuvers. The battle had begun. Back on Earth, Dr. Carter monitored the situation closely. Her heart raced as she watched live footage of the skirmish unfold. The Sentinels fought valiantly, weaving through enemy fire with incredible skill. But the Vorthakians outnumbered them 10-1. One by one, the Sentinels fell, their wreckage drifting silently through space. Then, just as all hope seemed lost, something extraordinary happened. From behind the moon, reinforcements arrived, not more Sentinels, but smaller drones deployed, from the Star Destroyers. These autonomous units swarmed the battlefield, overwhelming the Vorthakians with sheer numbers. Caught off guard, the aliens retreated, abandoning their device to save themselves. Commander Nguyen seized the opportunity. All units focus on the target, she ordered. Together, the surviving Sentinels unleashed everything they had, firing missiles and energy beams directly at the device. With a deafening explosion, the anomaly collapsed, vanishing into nothingness. Cheers erupted in the control room as news of the victory spread. Humanity had struck a critical blow against the invaders, buying themselves precious time to prepare for the next phase of the war. For Dr. Carter, however, the celebration felt fleeting. She stared at the screens, her mind already racing ahead. The aliens would return, and when they did, humanity would need to be ready. Little did anyone realize the true test of Earth's strength was yet to come. The destruction of the alien device near Saturn marked a turning point, not just in the war against the Vorthakians, but in humanity's collective psyche. For centuries, nations had squabbled over borders, resources, and ideologies, often at the expense of global cooperation. But now, faced with an existential threat from beyond the stars, Earth's fractured factions began to come together in ways no one thought possible. In the days following the Sentinels' victory, leaders from every corner of the globe convened for an unprecedented summit. Dubbed the Global Defense Initiative, this gathering aimed to unify humanity under a single banner. Held in Geneva, Switzerland, the event brought together presidents, prime ministers, monarchs, and military strategists, all eager to contribute to Earth's survival. At its center stood Dr. Elena Carter, whose role as the architect of Project Ascension had elevated her to near-mythic status. She addressed the assembly with quiet authority, her words carrying the weight of someone who understood the stakes better than anyone else. This isn't about politics or personal gain, she told the assembled delegates. It's about ensuring that future generations have a world worth inheriting. If we don't act decisively, and collectively, we risk losing everything. Her speech resonated deeply. Within weeks, treaties were signed, budgets reallocated, and rivalries set aside. Nations pooled their resources, sharing technology, intelligence, and manpower to strengthen Earth's defenses. Military bases around the world transformed into hubs of innovation, where engineers worked tirelessly to improve the Star Destroyers and develop new weapon systems. Even private companies joined the effort, offering cutting-edge solutions inspired by the platform's design. The unity extended beyond governments. Ordinary citizens rallied behind the cause, volunteering their skills and time to support the war effort. Factories once dedicated to consumer goods shifted production to build spacecraft components and protective gear. Schools organized fundraising drives while artists created murals and songs celebrating humanity's resilience. Social media buzzed with hashtags like One Earth Strong and Defend Our Home, spreading messages of hope and determination. Yet amidst the newfound camaraderie, tension simmered beneath the surface. Not everyone agreed on how best to prepare for the next wave of attacks. Some argued for aggressive measures, advocating preemptive strikes against the aliens' homeworld. Others believed diplomacy might still be possible, urging caution before escalating the conflict further. These debates played out not only in political chambers, but also in living rooms and coffee shops as people grappled with the moral implications of fighting an enemy they barely understood. As humanity prepared for what lay ahead, life continued, at least outwardly, as normal. In Ridgewood High School, Ethan Marks navigated the hallways with newfound confidence. The bullying hadn't stopped entirely, but Destiny Johnson's intervention had sparked a ripple effect. Students began standing up for one another, creating a culture of kindness that slowly eroded the toxic environment. Ethan himself became more outspoken, joining clubs and participating in discussions about science and space exploration. When asked why he cared so much, he simply smiled and said, "Because I want to help protect the place that saved me." Destiny, meanwhile, found herself thrust into the spotlight. Her actions outside the school had earned her recognition far beyond her hometown. Invitations poured in from organizations eager to hear her speak about leadership and compassion. Though initially hesitant, she embraced the opportunity, traveling across the country to share her story. Her message was simple yet powerful. Kindness is strength. Unity is power. One evening after delivering a speech at a community center, Destiny noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was Dr. Carter, who approached her with a warm smile. "You've inspired a lot of people," Carter said, "including me." Destiny blushed, unsure how to respond. "I'm just doing what feels right." Carter nodded thoughtfully. "That's exactly why I wanted to meet you. We're building something big, something that requires courage and heart, and I think you could play a part in it." Before Destiny could ask what she meant, Carter handed her a business card. "Think about it," she said cryptically before disappearing into the night. Back at Project Ascension, upgrades to the Star Destroyers progressed rapidly. Engineers installed advanced AI systems capable of predicting enemy movements and optimizing weapon trajectories. Energy shields received additional layers of reinforcement, making them nearly impenetrable. Plasma cannons were recalibrated for greater precision, allowing operators to target specific sections of enemy ships without collateral damage. But perhaps the most significant development was the creation of a new fleet of spacecraft dubbed the Guardian Fleet. Unlike the Sentinels, which were designed for stealth and reconnaissance, these vessels prioritized brute force. Equipped with heavy artillery and reinforced hulls, they served as mobile fortresses capable of engaging the Vorthakians head-on. Piloted by elite squadrons trained specifically for interstellar combat, the Guardian Fleet represented humanity's first true offensive capability. Commander Rachel Nguyen, fresh off her mission to Saturn, took charge of training the pilots. A strict disciplinarian with a knack for strategy, she pushed her recruits to their limits, simulating scenarios ranging from dogfights in asteroid fields to full-scale assaults on alien strongholds. Despite the grueling regimen, morale remained high. Each pilot knew they were part of something bigger, a chance to defend not just their homes but the entire human race. "You're not just soldiers," Nguyen told them during one particularly intense session. "You're pioneers. Every decision, You make shapes the future of our species. Don't let fear hold you back, let it fuel you. While preparations continued on Earth, the Vorthakians regrouped in deep space. Commander Zixar paced furiously across the bridge of his mothership, his 6 limbs trembling with rage. Never in his long career had he faced such humiliation. The humans, primitive, insignificant humans, had not only repelled his forces, but also destroyed their gateway device. How could this have happened? Lieutenant Krilna approached cautiously, her antennae twitching nervously. Commander, reinforcements have arrived. Zixar stopped mid-step, his eyes narrowing. How many? 300 ships, Krilna reported. Led by Admiral Trazok. A flicker of satisfaction crossed Zixar's face. Trazok was one of the Vorthakian Empire's most decorated commanders, known for his ruthless efficiency and tactical brilliance. With his arrival, the tide would surely turn in their favor. Excellent, Zixar hissed. Inform Trazok that we will launch our assault within 72 cycles. Earth will pay dearly for its insolence. On Earth, Dr. Carter monitored developments closely. Reports indicated increased activity near the edge of the solar system, suggesting the aliens were massing for another attack. She knew time was running out. We need to accelerate our plans, she told General Hayes during a late-night meeting. If we wait for them to strike first, we'll lose the advantage. Hayes nodded grimly. Agreed. What do you suggest? Carter pulled up a holographic map of the solar system. Her finger traced a line from Earth to Jupiter. We send the Guardian fleet to intercept them here. If we can draw them into a trap, we might stand a chance. It's risky, Hayes cautioned. If they break through, they won't. Carter interrupted firmly. Not if we use the Star Destroyers as backup. They'll never expect us to take the fight to them. After a moment of deliberation, Hayes gave his approval. Orders were issued, and the Guardian fleet launched into space accompanied by smaller drone units for support. As the ships disappeared into the void, Carter felt a mix of pride and dread. Humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming an interstellar power, but at what cost? Hours later, the Guardian fleet reached Jupiter's orbit, positioning itself strategically among the planet's moons. From there, they waited silently, engines idling as sensors scanned the darkness for signs of the enemy. Inside the lead ship, Commander Nguyen addressed her crew. This is it, she said, her voice steady despite the tension crackling in the air. Remember your training. Stay sharp, stay focused, and above all, trust each other. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone back home. As the seconds ticked by, the silence grew heavier. Then, suddenly, alarms blared. On the view screen, hundreds of alien ships emerged from hyperspace, their sleek forms glowing ominously in the dim light of distant stars. Here we go, Nguyen muttered, gripping the controls tightly. All units, engage. With that, the battle began, an epic clash between two civilizations fighting for survival. Plasma bolts streaked through space, illuminating the void with flashes of blue and green. Explosions rocked both fleets as ships collided and disintegrated, sending debris spiraling into the abyss. From Earth, the Star Destroyers watched and waited, ready to intervene if necessary. For now, humanity's fate rested in the hands of the brave men and women aboard the Guardian fleet. Little did anyone realize the outcome of this battle would determine not just the war, but the future of humanity itself. The battle near Jupiter raged on with an intensity that defied imagination. It was chaos incarnate, a maelstrom of plasma bolts, explosions, and debris spiraling through the void. The Guardian fleet fought valiantly, their ships weaving between enemy fire with precision honed by countless hours of training. Commander Rachel Nguyen led from the front, her vessel darting into the heart of the fray as she issued orders over the comms. All units, focus fire on their lead ship, she shouted, her voice steady despite the cacophony around her. We need to break their formation. Her words galvanized the fleet. Pilots coordinated their attacks, unleashing salvos of missiles and energy beams at the massive alien flagship looming ahead. The Vorthakians retaliated fiercely, their weapons cutting through space with devastating accuracy. One by one, Guardian ships fell, their hulls breached and engines silenced. But for every loss, humanity struck back twice as hard, fueled by desperation and determination. Amidst the carnage, something remarkable happened. The Star Destroyers, stationed millions of miles away near Earth, activated their long-range plasma cannons. Beams of concentrated energy shot across the solar system, striking the alien fleet with pinpoint precision. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, sending shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. The sudden intervention turned the tide, forcing the Vorthakians to retreat momentarily. Commander Nguyen seized the opportunity. "Push forward. Don't let them regroup." The Guardian fleet surged ahead, closing the gap between themselves and the retreating aliens. Explosions lit up the darkness as both sides clashed in a final, frenzied push. For a brief moment, it seemed like humanity might emerge victorious. But the Vorthakians weren't done yet. Admiral Trazok, aboard his mothership, watched the battle unfold with cold calculation. His mandibles clicked softly as he analyzed the situation. Humanity's resistance had exceeded expectations, but they were still outmatched. With a flick of his claw, he issued new orders. "Deploy the Harvester." Lieutenant Krillna hesitated. "The Harvester? Are you certain?" Trazok's eyes gleamed with malice. "Certain enough. If we cannot conquer them conventionally, we will destroy them utterly." Moments later, a massive structure detached from the rear of the alien fleet. Unlike the sleek, agile ships surrounding it, the Harvester was a monstrosity, brutal and mechanical, its surface covered in jagged spires and glowing conduits. At its core pulsed a dark energy field, radiating waves of destruction that warped space itself. As it moved toward the Guardian fleet, smaller alien vessels formed a protective perimeter around it, ensuring nothing could stop its advance. From Earth, Dr. Elena Carter stared at the holographic display in horror. Her team had detected the Harvester moments after its deployment, and what they saw chilled her to the bone. "It's a planet killer," she whispered, her voice trembling. "If that thing reaches Earth..." General Hayes clenched his fists. "We have to stop it," Carter nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to take the fight directly to them." Back at the battlefield, Commander Nguyen realized the gravity of the situation. The Harvester was too large and heavily guarded for the Guardian fleet to destroy alone. She made a split-second decision. "All units, fall back to defensive positions," she ordered. "Protect the fleet at all costs." As the surviving Guardian ships retreated, Nguyen stayed behind, piloting her vessel straight toward the Harvester. Her crew protested, but she silenced them with a firm glare. "This is bigger than any one of us," she said. "If I can buy you time, maybe, just maybe, we can stop that thing." With that, she engaged the ship's thrusters, hurtling toward the alien behemoth. Plasma bolts streaked past her cockpit, narrowly missing her as she zigzagged through enemy fire. When she reached optimal range, she armed the ship's self-destruct sequence. "For Earth," she muttered under her breath before pressing the button. The resulting explosion engulfed the Harvester's outer defenses, crippling several escort ships and creating a temporary gap in its protection. Though the Harvester itself remained intact, the sacrifice gave the Guardian fleet precious seconds to regroup. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Carter prepared for humanity's last stand. The Star Destroyers shifted formation, positioning themselves directly between the Harvester and the planet. Energy shields flared to life, forming a barrier that stretched across thousands of kilometers. Inside the underground facility, engineers worked frantically to reroute power from auxiliary systems, maximizing the platform's output. "We're pushing the reactors past safe limits," one technician warned. "If we overload, we don't have a choice," Carter interrupted sharply. "If the shields fail, billions will die." Above ground, people watched anxiously as the alien fleet approached. News outlets broadcast live footage of the Star Destroyers glowing brightly against the blackness of space, their blue energy rippling like waves. Social media erupted with messages of hope and fear, prayers and goodbyes. In cities and towns, families huddled together, unsure if this would be their final night. As the harvester drew closer, its destructive energy began destabilizing the shields. Cracks appeared along the edges, spreading rapidly as the strain increased. Carter monitored the readings closely, her heart pounding in her chest. They were running out of time. "Redirect power from non-essential systems," she commanded. "Everything. We've got now!" The engineers complied, rerouting every available watt to reinforce the shields. For a moment it seemed to work. The cracks slowed, then stopped altogether. But the reprieve was short-lived. The harvester unleashed another wave of energy, shattering the shields completely. "No," Carter whispered, her worst fears realized. Just when all hope seemed lost, something extraordinary happened. From deep within Earth's atmosphere, streaks of light shot upward, joining the Star Destroyers in orbit. To everyone's astonishment, these weren't military ships or drones. They were civilian spacecraft, hastily modified and crewed by volunteers. Thousands of pilots, mechanics, and engineers had rallied together, risking everything to defend their home. Destiny Johnson was among them. After receiving Dr. Carter's cryptic invitation weeks earlier, she had joined a secret program recruiting civilians to bolster Earth's defenses. Now, sitting in the cockpit of a retrofitted cargo hauler, she felt a surge of pride mixed with terror. "You ready for this?" A voice crackled over the radio. "As ready as I'll ever be," Destiny replied, gripping the controls tightly. Together, the civilian armada launched a desperate assault on the harvester. Missiles and improvised explosives rained down on the alien structure, chipping away at its defenses. Though vastly outnumbered, the volunteers fought with unrelenting courage, buying valuable time for the Star Destroyers to recover. Seeing the unexpected resistance, Admiral Trezok grew enraged. "Eliminate them all," he barked, redirecting his forces to counter the new threat. The battle reached its climax as the Star Destroyers finally regained enough power to launch a counterattack. Their plasma cannons roared to life, unleashing torrents of energy that tore through the alien fleet. One by one, the Vorthakian ships disintegrated, unable to withstand the onslaught. Even the harvester began to falter, its dark energy destabilizing under the relentless barrage. In a final, desperate move, Trezok ordered his remaining forces to ram the Star Destroyers, hoping to cause catastrophic damage, but the platforms held firm, their reinforced hulls absorbing the impacts without failing. When the dust settled, the alien fleet lay in ruins, drifting silently through space. The harvester imploded, collapsing into itself in a blinding flash of light. Humanity had won, but at great cost. Weeks later, as the world began to heal, Dr. Carter stood on the observation deck of the largest Star Destroyer, gazing out at the stars. Below her, Earth shimmered like a jewel, fragile yet resilient. She thought about all the lives lost and saved during the conflict, and all the challenges still ahead. A young officer approached her, holding a tablet. "Dr. Carter, we've detected another fleet entering our solar system." She sighed but nodded resolutely. "Let's see what they want." As the Star Destroyers powered up once more, humanity prepared to face whatever the universe threw at them next. For the first time in history, Earth stood united, not as victims, but as warriors ready to defend their home. And the aliens? They whispered tales of caution among the stars. "Beware the humans, their skies may part, but their resolve never falters."